Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar hosted by the Workforce Education and Development Program and Organization Development and Change at the Pennsylvania State University. This session is part of our monthly webinar series. My name is Halima Hatha. I'm a PhD student in the Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State. I will be hosting today's webinar alongside my colleagues, Marsha Rumel, who is a PhD student in Workforce Education and Development at Penn State, and Nadia Witterton, who is a Program Media Specialist in Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State. We are excited to engage with you using the features of the Zoom platform. At the end of this presentation, there will be a Q&A session. If you want the presenter to address your questions, please type in the Q&A section. If you encounter any technical issue during the webinar, please let us know using the chat box. Our online Master of Professional Studies in Organization Development and Change is designed for professionals who want to gain the skills and knowledge necessary to lead organizational change effectively. Additionally, we offer a PhD program in workforce education and development with contractions in human resource development and organization development. Since April 2020, we have established a continuous monthly free webinar series featuring experts from around the globe. Today, we are excited to present Agentic Career Leadership and Organization Development Initiative Lab Public Summit by Dr. Yong Jong Yong, Associate Professor and Professor in charge of the Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State, who is a speaker in webinar today, and Dr. Brian Ketchum is an Executive Director of Live Service, who is a webinar moderator. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our speaker and webinar moderator today, Dr. Brian. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Halima, and I appreciate that introduction. That's just wonderful. I hope everybody is having a great day today, and welcome to today's summit. Now, like she said, this is the first in a series of public summits that are geared towards harnessing our collective agency, which we'll learn more about today, to grow and inspire future research, careers, and our organizations. Today, we will be diving into the world of Agentic human resource development process theory. Is my audio okay?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. Good. Now, we're diving into Agentic human resource development process theory with our esteemed guest, Dr. Hyung Jun Yoon, a leading expert in human resource development and hopeful career development. Like she said, Halima said, I am Dr. Brian Ketchum, and I am the executive director of a nonprofit called Life of Service, and it's about putting hope into action. I also am a former graduate of the Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State. So today I'll moderate the discussion to explore Agentic HRD theory, and also trying to cover why it's vitally important right now in today's world to navigate and understand our environment. We'll follow the structure of Dr. Yoon's presentation that he recently gave to the NCDA conference. And this discussion format, this will be the third time we've done it. The other two have been at the AHRD conference previous years. So we'll be breaking it down, the theory down into digestible sections with plenty of insight and practical takeaways. Dr. Yoon, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for moderating this session.
Oh yes, this is an interesting and Exciting thing. So let me go to the next slide. There we go. Now, I know that Halima introduced the group that's the ACLOD Innovation Lab group. I'd like to just acknowledge and thank them again for putting on this summit. And again, this is one in a series of summits. This is hosted by the Workforce Education and Organization Development and Change Professional Development Network at Penn State. And this also serves as an invitation that if you find value in today's presentation and discussion, we would love to have you reach out and see how we can support one another as we collectively build our future together. The upcoming talks that we're going to have in this series, we have several planned. These are going to be done by the people mostly that you saw on the other slide, but we are open to suggestions. As you see, November and December have to be determined. Most of the meetings we have will have 2 presenters in each discussion, and each person will have theory and practice things to discuss from theory and practice that will be at different levels of their development. Some will be very just rudimentary ideas that are in the process of developing, which bringing it to this forum will allow us to really maybe help that grow, and others will be more finalized. So it'll be really interesting to help us all spark our creativity and tease out new frontiers. June, did you want to talk anything about this slide?
Yeah.
On how you envision
we'd like to build a platform, which is this. This is our kickoff event. But by having monthly events like this, we can have researchers and practitioners to contribute to the conversation, so that we can keep developing useful theories for practice, and the practice will inform the theory development, and the theory can guide the practice. So it is to develop a healthy ecosystem that can work for both worlds.
Wonderful. So really developing that healthy ecosystem that will work for both of those worlds. So the reason why we're starting the first workshop with Agentic HRD is because it really is the cornerstone for everything that follows. And having a good foundation in this topic is important. It helps, what we're talking about a little bit here is it helps us harness our collective agency, and which is exactly what we're doing right now today. It also is how things get done in any profession, in any organization. It starts with having an agent taking action, right? So understanding agency is to better understand the root causes of success in any profession. And finally, and this is kind of the new frontier, is understanding agency is a critical component as we enter the era of a cognitive partnership between humans and AI. And June, I know that you had some things to say about this slide. Would you like to give your thoughts?
Yeah. So this is a theory building effort. But this is also this can also guide practice. And these days, AI is a boom. But in using AI or developing AI platforms, it's very important for us to consider human agency, and also to what extent we give agency to AI at the same time. So we have some members who have been actively working on AI, including Dr. Yuling Chang, Abby Chang, who will be speaking in the next session next month, and we also have Ho-Sung Yu. So yeah, we will have those people in the future.
Wonderful, thank you. So now we're going to jump into the first section here, which will explore and discuss this theory as the foundation, and we want to give it some background to this theory and the role of human agency. So we'll start with I just wanted to give a little bit of a background on you, Dr. Yoon. 26 years of experience in enthusiastically pursuing the concept or the mission of inspiring and facilitating individuals and organizations to develop and realize their dream, which you stated is your mission. And
yeah, this is this addresses career development at the individual level and also organization development at organization level. So I've been working in both worlds, and maybe the rest of them will be some highlights of what I've been doing.
Wonderful. You know, and right now you are the professor in charge of the Workforce Ed program at Penn State. You're a master trainer. You're the VP of Talent and Organization Development at Tejan Group. You developed the habit model, which we'll be discussing. You developed the Hope Action Theory, which we'll be discussing. You've been an associate editor, a trustee at large, and you've been a professor at George Washington University and Ali Akwan University, the Harvard of Morocco. And then you've worked at several different high-level companies throughout your career. So you have quite the experience and background to pull from, for sure. So let's start with just the foundation here, which is the Agentic AHRD process theory. Can you break this down in simple terms and explain why it is the start of today's discussion?
Yeah, this is kind of a integration of the theory, a series of theory building efforts that happened over the last maybe 16 to 17 years. I started with a concept of human agency based on Albert Bandura. He has a social cognitive theory, but human agency theory is a subset of it. But along the way, I've developed with some co-workers like Dr. Spencer Niers and Norm Amundsen. We developed a Hope Action Theory. Along the way, in the theory development process, we've developed another concept called Hopeful Career State. So after developing a series of subsets of theories, or it can be Hope Action Theory or Human Agency Theory, I discovered that those can be integrated. So what I will be proposing or sharing with you is the synthesized version of all those theories that can be helpful for practice at the same time. And I know that some of you found this webinar through maybe NCDA conference, or maybe you are connected with our ODC community. But regardless where you're from, there will be some implications of this theory for you. So let's say if you're an OD professional, organization development professional, you may get something from other sides like personal agency side, or if you are a career development practitioner, you may find some key components or key information that you could utilize, or you could expand your reach further to the organizational side. So yeah, let's see how it goes.
Okay. Wonderful. So this next slide is just, I'll just briefly read through it, but you know, I like this slide because it really shows the arc of the story that we're about to tell and how we got to where we are at this time. And to better understand this is to better understand where we might be heading. So in 2009, you developed the assessment of human agency. 2010, Hope Action Theory. Then you understood in 2011, you discovered the importance of the support for one's hope, which I think is a very interesting study. You recognized the hopeful career state in 2019. Then Hope Action Theory for organizations. There, I believe you took Hope Action Theory and mapped it to the organization development. 2022 career development integration model, and then currently, and what we're talking about today is the Agentic human resource development process, and that brings us up to date. Would you like to say anything about this arc? Could you talk a little bit about the arc that we see here?
Yeah, the inception was important. So let me share a little bit of story how it came out. So I came to the U.S. to study career development. I wanted to focus on career development needs for 10 years or so, but I already had experience in leadership development and organization development. But I needed specialized knowledge related to career development. So I took a career counseling course in my first semester. And the assignment in that course, by the way, that was taught by Dr. Spencer Niles. The assignment was to develop my own theory. It was not about the theories that I will be talking about today, but it was something else. But in that theory that I developed, the concept of sense of agency was very important because in some part of the theory, I talked about the importance of writing stories for your future. And in that, it is very important for individuals to have a sense of agency because you need to have the agency to make things happen. So I got into the concept of agency and discovered Bandura's human agency theory, which is beautiful. It is highly organized with 4 core features of agency and 3 modes of agency, along with some other elements. So I got into it. I developed a tool called Assessment of Human Agency, in short, AHA. That became my dissertation. And Dr. Niles liked the concept of agency and the instrument that I developed, and he proposed to develop a new theory integrating those 4 core features of agency and some other concepts like hope, clarity, and adaptability or adapting. So one day we got together in a classroom at Penn State, or meeting room at Penn State, and we spent about 3 hours, and we drew a model, and we put hope at the center, and we put self-reflection, self-clarity, visioning, goal setting and planning, implementing, adapting around hope, taking from human agency concepts and so on. So that's how the theory development journey started.
So it started with agency, and then it moved into the hope, right, which we'll actually be talking here. Yep. Right. Okay. Very good. And was there anything in here that really stood out as a turning point in that, where it went from agency to kind of hope, and then is there any what do you think some of the key turning points might have been?
Yeah. So
because as we're discussing, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, until 2014, around the time, maybe you may want to take a look at the publication. My personal focus has been how we can enhance personal agency, how we can make people more self-directed and responsible for their own future, adopt good habits and things like that. But the one turning, there were 2 turning points. But the first turning point was to find the importance of support. So in one of the studies that we conducted, we identified, we interviewed 15 individuals who had almost perfect level of hope, but they had a very high level of perceived barriers. They were college students in the US and Canada, and we wanted to know what made them hopeful despite those challenges, circumstances, and barriers that they had. All of them had some sort of support, and that made them hopeful. There were other factors, but those factors were not present from all of those. So the support included significant others, maybe family member, and even a pet. So I from then on, I started to focus on creating supportive environment for people to be hopeful. And essentially, hope and agency are interconnected. And there is a theorist called Rick Snyder who developed hope theory. Hope theory has three components: goals, pathways thinking, and agency thinking. And in human agency theory, there is a term called intentionality. So goals and intentionality are very similar. And pathways thinking, and in agency theory, there's forethought concept. So pathways thinking, forethought are very similar. And agency thinking is about making things happen, implementing, and I'm talking about it. So that related to self-reactiveness. So self-reactiveness is reacting to your intention, which involves action, taking action, monitoring, and so on. So here, even with the human agency concepts, the Snyder's hope components are covered. So in my point of view, hope and agency are almost synonyms. Although those are conceptually different, but if you segment those, they share very similar characteristics. So my criticism regarding the existing hope theory is that those hope components are not hope. It's the characteristics of hopeful people. Because if you ask people on the street about what is hope, then they will not say, oh, hope is comprised of goals, pathways thinking, or agency. They will just never say something like hope is a positive attitude or positive expectation about one's future, something like that. So that's why I'm saying maybe the hope concept is the characteristics of hopeful people who are highly agentic. So these are four core features of agency according to Spectrum.
So is high agency, is that like a symptom of hope? I mean, would that be a way of saying it, or it's a behavior indicator of hope? If you have high agency, it's an indicator. That's a good way of saying it. So they're very highly related.
Yeah. So on the right, you see the habit model. I named it. It's human agency-based individual transformation. So this is, I would say, I call it as translational model of Benjamin's human agency theory. So so you see the same components, but what I did was to resequencing those four core features. So in OD or HRD or training development and career development, we start with assessment first. And then we move on to thinking about possibilities, or we strategize things and set goals and so on. So I just put self-reflectiveness at the beginning, and then forethought, and intentionality, and self-reactiveness. And by the way, I wrote an article in 2019 about this, and I took an example of appreciative inquiry. Many of you, if you're in OD field, you would know that. So self-reflectiveness is equivalent to discover, and forethought is equivalent to dream. Intentionality is equivalent to design, and self-reactiveness is equivalent to destiny. So 4D model, those components are covered, addressed in this model. But the difference between AI, the appreciative inquiry, and this is that we don't have to focus solely on strength. Sometimes you need to understand your challenges and shortcomings and so on to make things happen. So although this model is generally on the positive side, we don't neglect some dark side or negative sides. And I put agent at the center. So agents can be, or the agent can be, any human beings or any human systems. like it can be individuals, groups, and organizations. It can be even nations, or the globe, like United Nations. So those could be an agent. They exercise those 4 core features, interacting with the environment. So that's what this figure is depicting.
Well, I thought it interesting too how you mapped it. You can map it's a similar. You can map it to an AI process, but I think that you're right. It isn't strictly a positive focus, but just by going through this process, if you do it intentionally, right, and you go through this process, I would think that actually builds hope because you're focused on opportunities naturally by going through the process too. So that's maybe that's why it kind of leans itself in a positive direction from the start, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, I've been taking evidence-based approach. Although I haven't published intervention study of my own approaches, I have heard evidence in multiple pieces. So I've done some experimental studies utilizing this model through a 5-day camp program. It's called Career Leadership Camp. And we normally used most of the content were related to positive approach. You can name it as AI, approach inquiry approach. But we found that after going through the program, those participants' level of agency with those 4 core features and also level of hope have significantly increased. And at the same time, sometimes we track people's negative career thoughts. And even without tackling negative career thoughts, they have decreased those negativity in their functioning, cognitive functioning. So I found out the power of utilizing this model or components of this.
So this next section is really about a little bit more about how it's evolved from here then. And you mentioned how the agent in the center can be anything. You can make it a person, you can make it an organization, you can make it the entire world if you wanted to, right? You could make it anything and it would still have a similar process. So the next slide, I believe, is the Agentic AHRD process as it sits today, right? And I noticed that when we're talking about the agent and all the different types of agency, that's where it starts. So it's from the habit model is kind of like the starting line of the theory as it sits today. Is that as I see?
Yeah, I think so.
Correct?
Yeah. So collective in each model of agency, collective agency, proxy agency, personal agency, those 4 core features of agency like self-reflectiveness, forethought, intentionality, self-reactiveness, they are present. Those different model of agency should utilize those 4 core features to function. So here, let's see. I put hopeful career state as a mediator here, and in the previous slide, I talked about the kind of critical moment that shifted my focus, and that was support.
Right.
So the importance of support, and you can consider collective agency and proxy agency as a support system. So this I named this as Agentic AHRD process theory, and AHRD, human resource development in general, is in the organizational setting. It operates in an organizational setting, although there is a concept of national AHRD as well. So here, let's suppose that this is for organizations, and collective agency in organizational setting is what organizations would do for their employees to make their employees hopeful. And again, considering my background, I've been highly into career development, and my focus has been how to help employees' career development or people to navigate through their future and so on. So collective agency in that context is for the organization to figure out how to make employees hopeful. Through it can be through the different policies or HR practices. It can be through their culture, things like that. And proxy agency, according to Bandura, is that you cannot do everything on your own because of the limited resources and time. So you have to rely on, in order for you to be effective and for you to be influential, you have to rely on others. And in an organizational setting, that's what leaders do. Leaders rely on their team members or subordinates to make things happen. So in an organizational setting, I would say proxy agency is equivalent to leadership. And personal agency is what individuals do to achieve their own goals and priorities. So it's kind of self-supporting. Yeah, that's supporting them to be successful. So there are some shares that they should take, meaning, yeah, you can rely on colleagues or leaders and the organization or employer, but you have to take action in order for you to be hopeful. So
now the hopeful career. Go ahead. The hopeful career state is an assessment that you've developed. So it's a state of being it's like a snapshot of where you're at. Is that right?
Yeah, right now. Yeah. So it's a state. So it's a psychological state of you right now. So it can change if you are in a less desirable situation. Let's say you don't have a supportive supervisor, and you are in a autocratic regime or organization, then your needs are suppressed, then you may not see a bright future in that organization. So you may think about leaving the organization, and your level of engagement, psychological engagement, would be low, right? So yeah. So what I mean is it can change over time depending on the situation and the fit between the environment and yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then that in turn it will affect the work engagement per this model. And like you said, you may decide to leave. So turnover intention. So on the right side is really the outcomes that everybody's concerned about in organizations, I would think. But then you back into the root causes, which we can trace back to agency in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and in the AHRD field, human resource development field, and maybe in the management field as well, work engagement has been a boom for the last 20 years or so. There are a lot of studies that were done around work engagement, and impact of work engagement is proven. So the rest of, let's say, if there is a work engagement, then the right-hand side components follow naturally. What we found out over the years was that the impact of hopeful career state is very high on work engagement. So what I can say is sometimes hopeful career state can replace work engagement because hopeful career state alone can affect job satisfaction, turnover intention, and task performance, even without going through work engagement. From a analytical perspective, if we use, let's say, SEM, structural equation modeling. So what I'm alluding to is that from work engagement and on will be taken care of if we focus on hopeful career state. And let's say if we can find ways to enhance employees' hopeful career state, then the rest of them will follow. And let's suppose that and I know many organizations are trying to boost employees' work engagement. But if you were to focus on work engagement, there are a lot of directions, maybe too many directions. But let's say if hopeful career state is a key predictor for work engagement, then you can have focused interventions or solutions.
Right.
So you can maybe you can have HR practices that are geared towards enhancing employee career development, and you can train leaders to be a bit more career focused. These days, that's what organizations try to do to support their leaders to be better conversation maker or better coach for their employees' career development, for example.
Well, that's very powerful because I know that work engagement, and I've worked at some organizations where you really want to get the workers more engaged, but the actual things that you do are, it's hard to know what'll work, what won't work because everybody's so different. But if you focus on hope, you can be more targeted because that's something that we all have in common is that the process of how we get to a more hopeful state.
Right. Yeah. But it's not just a hope. It should be hopeful career state. It really relates to their work, their future work and so on.
Perfect. So let's go to the next slide here. So this is you say the main facets of the AHRD process. And I thought this was interesting when I looked at it because hopeful career state, it's listed here as an intermediary, but also it's the ultimate outcome, right? So that's seems a little bit counterintuitive when we're all looking to the right side. We want job satisfaction, all these other things. But why do you say that? How did that make it to the top?
Yeah, so I think I already mentioned it. If you focus on hopeful career state, the rest of them will be taken care of. That's why I say this is ultimate outcome, but intermediary. I wanted to allude to the fact that this should be the focus of maybe HR function. If you want to increase work engagement or job satisfaction, or reduce turnover intention and so on, I wanted to address that this should be the focus.
And the way I was thinking, if you look at even further back, like some of your overall mission for your career is about helping people build dreams and having them have a fulfilling life. It seems. I mean, and I think that really goes into that too, because if you have a hopeful career state, right? I just feel that you're going to be just a more fulfilled person in that. It's not just work engagement, because you can be really engaged in a state of flow. In a flow state, and you're not feeling hopeful, you're not feeling that fullness in your whole life. But if you have a hopeful career state, that just means that you feel more where you're supposed to be in life, and aligned with your initial mission too.
It's related to self-actualization. So it's to ask whether you are close to the self-actualization state. And so I think that's the hopeful career state.
Right. And then did you want to talk anything more about this slide about the different levels?
I think I already talked about it, but I think, again, emphasizing on organizational context is important because that's connected to hopeful career state. Again, this is about state, and it's context dependent. So we have to consider organizational context. What can be done in that context? It can be in the form of HR interventions or leadership effort, things like that. And we, in order to be effective, we have to consider different forms of human agency. So again, those three modes of agency were conceptualized by Albert Bandura as well.
Right. And then we get to the hopeful career state, which is what we're talking about. So this is the slide for that. Where would you like to start with that?
Yeah, on the left, that's the figure for hope action theory. So if you are in the career development field, you may know about this theory. along the way, we developed hopeful career state. It came out of experimental study with Syrian refugees in British Columbia. And there were two groups, two identical groups. We intentionally randomly assigned 60 refugees into two groups, 30 and 30. One went through Hope Action Theory-based training program with some counseling, and another group went through typical employment service, like resume building and interview prep and so on. And we tracked their progress. At 9 months, the employment rate of both groups were almost the same. So I was a bit disappointed by that. But looking at their psychological state, like in terms of hopeful career state, those ones who've gone through this process, Hope Action Theory-based process, had a significantly higher, statistically significantly higher level of hopeful career state, which in turn helped them to be more engaged and more satisfied. So we intentionally developed this measure for that study because typical outcome measure for those employment service has been employment. But we thought that we can go beyond getting, help people to get a job. So we wanted to take a look at how hopeful they are once they are employed. So if they're hopeful, it will mean that they are in the right place in terms of the fit between themselves and their future and their work, things like that.
Very powerful.
And at that time, I saw through the study the predictive power of hopeful career state for work engagement. So from then on, I kept using hopeful career state measure, and many of my advisees and some collaborators have used the hopeful career state in their studies.
I believe you have the some publications that you have there.
Examples of those publications used hopeful career state. So if you are into psychology or this psychological concept, and if you're a researcher, you may want to take a look at these and see what you could do, because again, hopeful career state has a very, very high predictive power for many outcome variables.
Perfect. So now we did talk about the different the different modes of agency, and you mentioned about how, I believe you said, proxy was leadership focused and personal was career development focused, right? So now we're getting into a little bit about I believe some of the interventions or areas that deal with those modes. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, because this is career, this slide is career related. You may feel that this may be personal agency related. It may be true depending on how you interpret this, but this is a framework that we use to guide human resources practices for employee career development. So the practices or solutions were mapped based on employees' career stages. So Don Super created career stages, but it was age-based linear career stages. And what I propose is a job-based career stages, which is cyclical. So over time, people in general change their jobs over 10 times or 13 times. And for every job, you can consider that we enter into the job and we develop our skill sets for that job and master those and exit to a different job. If you are promoted to a new job, you have new set of skills, requirements or roles and responsibilities and duties and so on. So you need to learn again about the job, develop yourself, and so on. So this is a never-ending cycle, and along the way, you explore your career opportunities. Career exploration can be a distinct step between, let's say, entry and exit, but exploration can happen throughout the stage. So maybe next, if you advance to the next slide, you see the depiction of the job-based career stages. As you can see on the left, their exploration appears in two different places as a distinct step, but also overlapping step with other steps or other stages. So that
and each one of those numbers is representing a different practice that can be done in that stage.
Right. So my colleagues and I have done integrative literature review, which we are still working on. And we found out 35 interventions, HR practices that can help employee career development. So those numbers items are, numbers items indicate HR practices, as you can see on the right-hand side, but they are mapped. So those are appropriate interventions or matching interventions for those distinct steps. Some interventions are highly stage-oriented, specific stage-oriented.
Right.
For example, if you look at exit, like 30, 29, 28, 27, those are part-time contract, phase retirement, outplacement service, encore career. Those are specifically related to exit stage. So you can take a look at this figure that way. If you want to learn more about this, you can take a look at this book chapter published in Foundations of Human Resource Development.
And again, this is something that is a intervention that can be used to promote agency.
Yeah, employee career, employees' hopeful career state, and because HR practices are developed and also implemented at the organizational level, I equate this as collective agency, because this is what organizations do.
Right, right. And then in turn, this is an intervention at a collective level to improve or increase the hopeful career state, which then right down the line influences everything else that everybody overtly wants. Perfect. And then now this right, and now this would be collective agency also then, or is this the organizational values, or how does this fit in?
So, recently, another research team identified, which I led, these 9 OD values, organizational development values, that OD practitioners should exhibit. And OD, by the way, is a values-based field supporting democracy and humanistic approaches. But those were somewhat fluffy terms for highly profit-oriented organizations, businesses. So one of the purposes of this initiative was to identify value terms that are customer or client friendly, regardless who they are. So, and after identifying those values, by the way, this was through an international Delphi study that involved 42 OD practitioners that who practiced in 58 different countries. So this was a large-scale Delphi study. And after the study, we've discussed, and we were wondering, what if leaders in different organizations adopt these 9 values? Then it may be more effective than 1 or 2 OD practitioners go in to the organization and try to initiate organization-wide change, because there are a lot more leaders than OD practitioners. So what I did in Daejeon, which I worked for over the summer full time, was to turn this into a 360 measure for leaders. So I turned all these into leadership competency assessment tool, and I've been converting leaders to be facilitators and also upholding those OD values. So I would say, yes, at the organization level, this is to enhance collective agency by engaging the organizational members. But because this can be distributed to leaders, this can also be practice agency.
Very good. Well, we have covered a lot today, from the foundations of Agentic HRD and to its practical applications. Dr. Yoon, do you have any final thoughts before we open for questions?
No, I think this is just a beginning. So this is the kickoff event of the ACLOD lab. So there are a lot more that have been done. Like I said, there's an integration with AI, and some of our members work on well-being, and also student family support, and international students career development, and so on. There are a lot more items or topics. So please stay in touch. And if you can get involved, if you want to get involved, and if you want to join, even if you're a researcher, if you want to join the lab, yeah, we'll find a way, find out how we can do. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me through LinkedIn using this QR code. Yeah.
Wonderful. No, that's great. And again, this is the kickoff meeting summit. There'll be several coming after this. Hopefully, everybody stays tuned. And and again, the key here is that we're trying to just start a conversation to build that collective agency around this topic and see where it goes. So let's see if could Marsha, I think we have 2 questions right now. Marsha, could you come on and read them, please?
Yes, sure. We have 3 questions.
Thank you.
The
3
first
questions.
question, 3 for now. The first question is the model has application regardless of age or only for adults? I'm a teacher for middle school. Thanks.
Yeah, if you are talking about the heavy model with human agency component, with those 4 core features like self-reflectiveness, intentionality, forethought, and self-reactiveness, yes, it's applicable to any age level. I have a son who is now 14 years old, and as a parent, I kept asking him questions about what he is good at and what his goal would be, things like that. Even you can ask your children, or when they are age 3 or 4, you can do that too.
Thank you for answering that question, Professor Yoon. The second question is, how do you treat individuals who don't fit the norm, late career, searches, and evolutions that doesn't follow a traditional timeline and path?
Pandora has also proposed kind of a classification of different environments. So one is an imposed environment. Maybe those environments may have some norms, but if you do not feel that you don't belong to that environment, maybe that has some certain norm, then you can select a different environment. So so one type of environment is the imposed environment. Second one, selective environment. You can select a new environment for you. Another one, third type is creative environment. So you can create one that can fit your system, like your characteristics and your desires and so on. So my belief, and also the Agentic way, is that there is always a way for a certain issue or I don't know, for if it's like when there is a will, there's a way. So that's the attitude, agentic attitude.
Okay. The third question. This module is great. Do you have some kind of maturity modules to measure the level of the company to start AI use and be success? I think be successful.
AI means artificial intelligence, right?
Yes.
Myself doesn't have I do not have AI specific model, but here Dr. Brian Katzam has AI appreciation inquiry based model. So he has done how can I say, is it factors for adoption of appreciation inquiry,
Yeah.
right? So we don't
Correct,
have
yes.
a measure yet for the AI adoption, but using the same approach, it is possible to develop one. And we also have in the team, we have some AI experts. So with the team, it may be possible, but we don't have it right now.
Well, and there might be some things that are going to be covered later on later sessions that are AI focused. So those type of things may be discussed tangentially around some of the other studies.
Okay, thank you. I would say to the participants today, if you have questions or you have suggestions for the team, please email us. Please connect with us through LinkedIn. Professor Yoon shared his information. You can email him. You can send him messages, and we will also share the PDF of the presentation, so you will have all the contact information. So if you have questions, if you're interested, if you want to connect with ACLOD, please do so. Thank you. Alima, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Young and Dr. Brian, and thank you everyone for joining us today. On behalf of our workforce development organization development and change program, we hope you enjoyed today's session. If we didn't answer your question, please feel free to email us or contact the presenters directly. We would love to hear your feedback on Tuesday's webinar. Please take a moment to complete the survey using the link in the chat box. Our agenda for next webinar series will be shared soon. Please follow our workforce development program, social media platforms, and website. Remember, registration for all our events is completely free and can be found on our website. We want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to join us. You can also stay updated by following us on our social media platforms, include Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope to see you soon and have a great day and good night or good morning for our guest in different time zone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.